today we're going to be looking at one of the deployment options when it comes to Kong Connect. And that deployment option is deploying the gateway or data plane in Kubernetes. So just a brief overview with Kong Connect, there's multiple different options for deployment, but we're going to be looking at the hybrid SaaS deployment. So here Kong is hosting the control plane for you, and the bit that you will host in your environment is the data plane or gateway. In this demonstration, I'm going to be showing you how you can set this up in Kubernetes. The only prerequisite for this is that you have a Kubernetes cluster and you have access to that Kubernetes environment. You also should have Helm installed locally on your command line tool. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just go over to the control plane and we're going to log in. Once we're logged in, we can go over to Gateway Manager. So Gateway Manager is where we manage all our control planes, as well as where we can see all of our data planes connected. I'm going to be working out of the default control plane here in Gateway Manager. To find the instructions on how to set up your data plane or gateway, you just go over to the data plane node section and then search in the top right hand corner for new data plane node. Specify the version you want and the deployment option that you want. So here I'm going to use Kubernetes. And I just need to follow all of these instructions in order to be able to set this up. So to kind of show how this is done, I'm just going to split my screens. I'm going to copy the instruction over here. So I'm first creating a namespace. Right now I'm connected in Kubernetes. Let's create my namespace for me. I'm going to add this Kong chart repository, so using Helm. I've already installed this multiple times, so some of these might look a little bit different for you. The next thing we're going to do is generate some certificates, right? So here, I'm going to generate my cert. I copy this. And then I'm going to save this locally here. So I'm going to call this tls.cert and save my configuration in here. I'm next going to copy out the certificate key. So copy this out here. Call it tls.key and click on save. So that's all that's required for the certificate and key section. I'm next going to copy this. I'm going to create a secret for this in Kubernetes. So I'm using, this is the command here. Let me pull this out a little bit further so it's clear. So creating a TLS cert called Kong-cluster-cert, and then just providing the path to where the cert and key live, right? So if I come back over here, I'm just going to modify this. So right now in this directory, I have my tls.cert and tls.key. So that's modified now. And if I create that secret, that Kong cluster cert gets created. And if I do a get secrets, I can see that it's created. The next thing we'll do is we're just going to copy out the configuration for our Helm chart, right? So here, I'm just going to copy this out. There's a quick copy command here, and I'm going to save it in my directory and give it a name, values.yaml. Save this here, and then this is all the configuration I need in order to connect to the control plane. Once I'm happy with that, I can then run the Helm install command, right? So here I am installing my Kong with the specific Helm chart in the namespace Kong with the values.yaml file that I just saved. So running that command, you should now get a response back like this. So let me just expand these screens so it's a little bit clearer now. So you should get a response that looks like this, right? So we can then check, kubectl get po-svc-nkong, right? So you should see a pod coming up. It's not fully up yet. And then Kong also exposes the proxy over a load balancer by default, right? So from here, it should be coming up soon. So I'm just going to do a watch on this service. We can check to see if the pod is coming up just while we wait. So this looks like it's up and running. We should also see in our control plane, under the data plane node section, that we can see now that this just now got connected. So our data plane or gateway is now connected to our control plane. What's more now, so the IP address for the load balancer has come up. So this is the public IP address. And if I paste this in a browser, you should now get a 404 not found with this specific error code, right? So this is actually a good thing. No route match with those values, right? Because we haven't actually configured that anything in the gateway yet. So we can, create our first service and route to be able to proxy a request through to verify that this works all good. So if I come back over to our control plane and I, come to our gateway services over here, I can create a new service. My first service, I can call it. Specify an endpoint that you want to connect to. So I typically use this very simple echo service called HTTP bin. I'll next expose this service over a specific route. So here I'm just going to specify the service I want to use and expose it over a specific path called /API. So what happens is anytime I make a configuration change to the control plane, the data plane proxies that are connected below here in my Kubernetes environment are going to pick up those changes, right? So now if I try to access the proxy endpoint over /API, instead of getting an error like I did before, I'm able to get a successful response back, right? So this very simply shows you how easy it is to set up a data plane or gateway in Kubernetes, how you can expose that gateway via load balancer, and then also create your first service and route in Kong to proxy a request through. Thanks very much for watching.